Hello and welcome back to another Betting Bankers live stream. We're here to discuss all things sports gambling related with a focus on soccer, horse racing, NFL and NBA. We share our bets before the event starts and then we monitor the progress as the action happens. Let's get cheering on those winners and making some money.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Betting Bankers. Slightly different time than we're used to going live. We're going midweek this time to get ready for the return of football later in the week. And as is becoming customary, you probably would have heard a few side conversations during the introduction there that we are still plugging away. So welcome back, everybody. How have you been getting on? Been watching the fantastic action that's on tonight.
We haven't quite managed to get that introduction right, have we? Every week, it's so real.
Yeah, at least it's authentic. It's a unique intro every time we start.
Too enthusiastic. That's all it is.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Can anyone hear me? And then just away there.
Why is everyone being quiet?
Yeah, everyone can hear you.
So we'll probably look at the first match that's on the air at the minute now is the Belgium-Denmark one. We had a nice, and this is another habit that we're starting to become regular, is announce a winner that we didn't tell anybody before we went live with it. But we had looked at backing Lukaku for a couple of shots here, and we won't say an unnamed member of the group didn't get the bet on in time. And he's had those shots. I believe he's had two of them. Has he had 2 goals? Is that right?
Yep, 2 goals.
So the 2 shots on target has walked in.
Ireland just missed the sitter. Oh, God. Yeah. You didn't get the bet on in time.
I don't know. Someone. Run it well on that point.
Not pointing at anyone, but is he wearing a headset?
I think he's one of the 5. That's all that I could remember. But are any of you watching the Ireland game? I actually didn't watch any of it yet tonight.
No, I was just going to say, it doesn't even register with me at the moment when Ireland are playing. I just see it as if it's any other game going on that night. You know what I mean?
The pressure. Pretty bad. They literally just missed a sitter. An absolute sitter.
They were inside evens to win, like a kickoff.
Yeah.
That's because Bulgaria are horrible, and especially away from home. But Ireland are just as horrible.
Jeez, they can't buy a goal, so they can't.
No, 10 hours without a goal.
The style of play isn't that bad. I actually like they're playing a lot better football. It's just not scoring.
I don't know if we have the players for that, Gary. Do especially not in the final third. There's no link.
Only one way you're going to get the players, though, John. Like
you can't train them into international football. Like they spend 95% of their time with different.
I'd say I was thinking more that you do something a bit more interesting or a bit more promising, and then you might lure the kind of on the fence guys into the national setup.
But not even that. Like Ireland shouldn't be thinking about the next 2 years. They should be thinking 6-8 years down the road. They're trying to get all the young lads watching to say, I'm actually going to play football when I go and play for my team, not just hoofball. So I'm happy with how it's going anyway. Like these matches don't matter. I'd rather get a decent style of play and a bit of confidence in the team to actually pass the ball around than hoof it and win 1-0 from a corner.
No, I fully agree with you, Gary. And the style of football as a whole pile better. It's just when you don't have the quality of the players to execute the actual game plan, it leads to nothing in the end, as we've seen in the last whatever X amount of games, 4 or 5 games. We're just there's no.
I think there's a bit of bad luck in there as well, though. Like I mean, it had the chances, just haven't converted them. Even against England, it could have been 1 or 2-0 up against England, and then imploded just before half time,
But he's setting it up for 2 or 3 years anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's definitely it. Yeah, I don't think you picked a number out of the air when you said 4 or 5, but you've got to be giving them 15, 20 games, like years really, and then see how it goes after that.
I don't think
it's. My point isn't that I disagree with a style of play or anything like that. It's the fact that I don't think we have the quality players of the quality to do it, to actually get an end product from it. But that's all. Years. That's years to be able to play like that. Hopefully,
we might be having some audio connections there with you, Mark. I'm not sure if that's just me or
I can't make out what
Yeah,
you're
I
saying.
can
Man.
hear you.
Yeah, slight audio hiccup there.
I
Yeah, this
just,
Belgium.
I know we're missing a lot of players to Ireland, but like, I just don't know. And we need to find some quality from somewhere, and in order for these, like, it's bad that I know we need time, and I know you need to give it a chance and everything, but it seems like Route One and robust defending was a more effective at getting results currently than this method. But if we
But
find players from somewhere, I'm sure
that style that you're referring to, PK, it was effective, 10 years ago, but probably since, go back as I think the kind of line in the sand was probably the Euros that were on in Poland and Ukraine. It wasn't effective then, and it hasn't been effective since. I think too many other teams have moved on to the point that that's not effective, or sorry, we didn't have the players to make that effective. So I don't know if we went back to that. I don't know if it would necessarily produce the results that it did historically.
No, I don't want to go back to it. I'm not saying that. I'm just
Sounds like you're saying it, PK. That's what it sounds like.
No, we have a lack of quality, and that's you got to make means. You got to do the best with what you have, and I think there's a serious lack of
There's
quality.
a rumor going around that you've lost this argument, PK. Sorry.
Okay, I'll yeah. When we qualify for the next World Cup, I'll accept defeat.
Okay. Yeah, sounds. Here's Sean McGuire on to solve all the problems.
The legend of Cork City.
That's it.
So we're obviously going live midweek here, and we're going to do our usual slot on Friday, and we have a few different bets picked out for Friday, or maybe games to focus on more than the bets picked out. So maybe Slats, you might want to run through a couple of the ones you've got lined up for us later in the week.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've been looking at Dutch too. So first up is Den Bosch versus Ajax. Ajax have won 6 of their last 8. Den Bosch have lost 6 of their last 8. So Ajax at evens for the win is looking decent. In their head-to-head, they've both scored in 7 of their last 8 games, with Ajax winning 6 out of those 8 head-to-heads. So Ajax with both teams to score is nicely priced at just over 2-1.
I'm sold on that already.
Yeah, it's the best of the 3 I have. I'm going to combine the 3. Next up, Volendam versus Os. Volendam have won their last 5 games, scoring 25 goals in those 5. Os have lost 4 and drawn 1. Those 4 defeats, they conceded 3 goals in each of them, and drew 1 all. So Volendam are big odds on, but when you add in over 2.5 goals to that, it looks pretty decent at 4-6. Yeah, still pretty safe, I'd imagine.
Yeah, especially with the late goals that we see over there.
Yeah, exactly. Plenty of goals in the Netherlands. So yeah, it's more about picking a result to add with either over 2.5 for both teams to score. And then third game is Excelsior versus AZ. Last year Excelsior won 2-1 and they drew 3 all. So there's been plenty of goals when these two were playing recently. AZ are second from bottom and have conceded the second most in the league. They've also scored more than any other team in the bottom half. Excelsior mid-table, they're scoring and conceding plenty too, so I'm expecting goals from both. So Excelsior are odds on for the win, but if you include both teams to score, you're getting 7-5 for that.
We looked at that a lot last year, didn't we? Sonny, Gary and Slats, about just Serie B in places where you add in that both teams to score, and it seems to be a huge boost in the odds, even if obviously that's a lot riskier, but so many of the games seem to be 2-1, 3-1.
Massive, yeah. It's not like these teams are keeping clean sheets. They're odds on for the win, but they're conceding in most games. So adding in the both teams to score just seems like such a handy boost.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the answer to this, but what percentage of games are finishing 1-0? It just seems that I don't know. I mean, the bookies make money, so I'm sure they're right, but it just very, very attractive sometimes.
Yeah, especially now with leagues with VAR and stuff. 0-0s are very much a rarity these days when you have penalties being given left, right, and centre, etc. So they are good kickers to have in there on your bets.
Like looking at Volendam's last 5 games, they won 5-1, 6-2, 7-1, 2-0, and 5-2. So both teams scoring in 4 out of 5 of those. They're still hockey in everyone they're playing, but they're conceding 4 out of 5.
Yeah. We were probably on the 2-0, were we? You're looking at a couple of English matches for us at the week or on Friday, Gary.
Yeah, so the first game was a championship game. So Coventry are playing Birmingham, which is an odd game these days considering Coventry, Coventry are the home team, but they actually play in St Andrews, which is Birmingham's ground, because they lost their ground a while ago. So it's odd having the two teams playing in the same ground. Coventry have lost 6 of their last 8 games. So they're not in any kind of run of form. The one victory they've had in that run of 8 games was actually against Reading, who were top of the table at the time. But before and after that, they've been fairly poor. Birmingham had slightly better form. They have lost their last 2 games, but they've been against decent teams. So my bet there would be Birmingham and over 1.5 goals at 5-2. Neither team is great at keeping clean sheets. I was between the draw and Birmingham, but I think Birmingham have just played slightly stronger teams, and I fancy them to win win on Friday. The other game then is Mansfield against Colchester. So these are teams kind of at opposite end of the table. Mansfield down near the bottom, Colchester up kind of not at the top but in around the playoff positions. I think Mansfield, they're starting to find form, but they only have one home league. They have one league victory this season, and none of them are coming home. So Colchester, they've got solid form, and they're 2-1 away from home, which I think looks big. The only thing is that Colchester haven't won away from home. They've drawn a lot on their travels, so bit concerned about the draw. So
they're due a win. That's what you mean.
Well, they're due a win, but I also looked at draw no bet. So they're 21-10 to win, but they're 6-5 draw no bet. So either of those bets, I think, is a good bet. Obviously, if you're looking for a safe one, I think the 6-5 is obviously safer because you've got that draw no bet. But the 2-1 or just over 2-1 about a Colchester victory, I think is pretty good. Again, Mansfield don't keep that many clean sheets. But they're Mansfield at 6-5. I said they only have one win this season so far, and none of that, no victories have come at home. So I can't see any reason why you take the 6-5 for Mansfield win. And I think there's something like 4-7 draw no bet or something like that. So it just seems oddly priced. To me, the bet is either Colchester draw no bet, or if you're getting a bit greedier like I am, 5-2 or 21-10 for Colchester to win.
Yeah, I like that draw no bet. It's such a useful sort of insurance policy, but I never really do it myself. It's probably something I should look at.
I never use it myself, and like how many games, are your team's even winning and then they concede late or that sort of thing, like where you'd have that.
Yeah, I'd say over 40% of the games involved in these teams this season have ended in draws. So that's why I kind of looked at it like on stats. I'd say the draw is probably the most likely outcome, but I just think that on form and based on squads, I think Colchester will nick it personally. So that's why I kind of looked at the draw no bet market.
We've talked a few times here and amongst ourselves about certain markets to get overpriced because other ones are overbacked. I'd say the draw must be statistically the most overpriced market because nobody. I'd say it's 1 in 100 times you hear people talking about a bet that they're actually backing the draw. It seems to be it's like kind of backing unders. There's just no interest in doing it. It seems if you fancy an upset, you go to the away team. You don't go to the draw.
Yeah, there's definitely value in it. Like, I used to do 4 draws at a weekend, and you'd always get really, really good odds just on 4 teams to draw. It's a hard bet to get up, but you're always in, or nearly always in contention. If you go in the win markets and you go 1-0 down, you instantly. So let's say it's Mansfield against Colchester. If Mansfield go 1-0 up, Colchester will instantly go out to 10-1 to win the game. So if you have them, especially as part of an ACCA, and you're looking at cash out values and things like that, it just blows it out of the water. Whereas if you have the draw and a team is just up by a goal, it's still probably only around 3 or 4 to 1 the draw. So you never really blow yourself out of the water until you go 2 or 3-0 down. So I think even from that perspective, it's good. You seem to get a lot of it, like a long run out of it as well. So if none of the teams go down by a significant amount, you're kind of always in with a shout. So they're good bets, I find. But you're right, they are overpriced.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're tricky to find. I used to do back in the day. I used to do over the weekend if I seen 1 or 2 games I liked. I used to, or 3. Sorry, I'd do a draw Trixie. You good value. You'd make quite a profit. They'd generally be between 9 to 4 and 3 to 1, or maybe even 7 to 2 if you were lucky on some games, depending on what you found. And if you got 2 up, you were in healthy profit, right? And 3, they're nice prices for a Trixie. So just when you're studying your fixtures, if you came across 2 or 3, you could lump them into a little Trixie and get some value out of them. It's just a fun punt generally, though. But you're right. There's games you look at and you go, oh, the value bet here is the draw. Like,
just about what you were saying as well, LB, about maybe it's overpriced. Like I was looking at a game recently, and both teams were 7-5 to win the game. So like they obviously couldn't call, who was going to win, but the draw was 7-2, and you're going, how can the draw be the least likely result by a massive margin? Yet you've nothing between these two teams to win. Is it? It's like next goal wins or something. Like there has to be a winner. There can't be a draw, but we just don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're looking at Bayern Munich at home or something like that, 7-2 for any match to be a draw seems overpriced.
Yeah, but I actually have the odds up here for the weekend. So in the Premiership, the minimum odds for a draw this weekend is 21 to 10. And
what game is that? Good chance the West Ham game, is it?
It's actually Burnley Crystal Palace.
Oh,
sorry, West Ham is the same. So West Ham, Sheffield United, and Burnley Crystal Palace are priced up at that. But like Newcastle, Chelsea, 12 o'clock game or 12:30 game on Saturday. Chelsea after having probably 70% of their squad or more away on international duty, and it's nearly 4 to 1 for the draw in that game. So there's definitely value to be had in that market. And even looking down through the Championship here, it's the same. There isn't one game in Championship, League One, Premier League, or League Two that goes below 2 to 1. So
no, it's always 2 to 1. I remember tracking it before. Do you know that gambling strategy that people tried in casinos where you put 10 on black on the roulette table, and if it doesn't win, you put 20 on, and you keep doubling your stake, and you're getting 2 to 1 odds. I was considering trying that on draws before. Either pick one team and just keep doubling up that they're going to draw a match, and you're getting 2 to 1 or better every time you're going on. It's just that obviously the money starts stacking up very quickly. I think you get about 11 bets in, and you're going to be remortgaging your house or something to get the next bet on. So
yeah, I know a guy who tried that on horses just on favourites. His logic was like the favourites have to win, and over a week, like no favourites won, and I think he was down something like 15 grand or something like that. It was atrocious because he just
it's incredible.
Like when you get to that stage, you just have to keep like trying to get your money back. Do you know that way?
Yeah, and the worst thing is, like, when you eventually have to just cut your losses and give up on it because you can't afford 30 grand as your next bet when you've lost 15, that favourite's going to end up coming in.
That's it. You're walking out of bookies and all you hear is, and this wins at 1 to 2. You're like, for fuck's sake.
But that's a ridiculously dangerous strategy with odds on stuff as well. Like you could win.
Well, it doesn't make sense with odds on.
You're still in a hole
to make sure you're back to profitability.
Well, that's it. You keep betting to like at least get your stake back at the stage you go down.
But that's just like compulsion gambling at that stage. Like,
no, it is.
It's not what we're recommending here.
It's thinking you can beat the system.
I'm not saying it's a good strategy. I'm just saying it's a strategy, but definitely a dangerous one.
If you go with a team that draws a lot, it's so unlikely they're going to go more than 10 games without a draw at all. Kind of mid-table team who, doesn't manage to put away the teams below them and gets a result against the teams above them. And obviously, you want it to go on for a while. You make more the longer it goes on, but once it goes too far, you're dead. And you're dead
But like,
in a very
case in
bad
point,
way.
Ireland today were 9-4 to draw. Ireland,
That's
haven't scored a goal in 10 games against Bulgaria, who are horribly offensively as well.
did finish 0-0, did it?
Yeah, of course it did.
We were actually in a group, Gary and PK, myself, and I'm not sure if you're in it, Lee, about the Angles one and stuff.
You're just telling this to me, so are you?
No, and somebody actually people were talking about this game, and somebody threw into the group. They were like, no goal scorer at 15-2 might be the bet. People were talking about different goal scorers. Do you know what I mean? It seems so like no one to score in that match outside 7-1 is ridiculous price.
So back in the 0-0 draw was 7-1.
Well, probably 15-2.
That seems like a crazy price.
Yeah. Hopefully that's bet 10 in your double your stake strategy. You'll be laughing. Yeah, my bet this weekend or on Friday is going to be the Serie B. It's actually been a disaster this season for us, but Frosinone Cosenza. So Cosenza are toxic. They haven't won a single game yet this year or this season. So Frosinone are 4-6, and Frosinone were a bit unlucky not to get promoted last time, and 4-6. But if you add in over 1.5, which I think 3 of their 4 wins this season have been over 1.5, and like I said, Cosenza can't defend. It's 11-8, so it's a good bit outside evens for basically 2-0, 2-1, something like that. I think it's hard to skip over that price. So that's my bet of the Friday. It's the only game they changed the Serie B as well this season, so it's quite a hefty Saturday schedule and just one game on a Friday night. So I think the 3 of us watching it and punting on it on a Friday night wasn't enough for them to keep the full thing going. So they've broken it out now over the weekend.
So just one game on Friday night?
Yeah, sometimes it might be an early one. So you might have like a 5 p.m. and a 7:45 or 8 p.m. But this weekend is just one.
You can't be competing with the Dutch Division 2 anyway. That's ridiculous.
Last season it was. We watched pretty much every Friday over the summer, and it was an absolute joke.
Not from a punting perspective, though.
But Dutch 2 has changed as well. They've spread their games out right across the week, like a game or 2 every night. There's now on Fridays, there's 2 at 5 o'clock and 2 at 8 o'clock. Or actually, this Friday it's 3 at 5 and 3 at 8. But it used to be 10 games. Was it 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock every Friday?
If there's no fans going to the stadiums, I kind of think let them do what they want. My only worry would be that they'll try and keep this going then when fans come back, and there'll be, still cardboard cutouts in the stadium and matches on at 11 o'clock at night and crap like that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
You've got a couple of European games picked out for us, PK, on Friday.
Yeah, big enough one. Well, it would have been big a couple of seasons ago. Anyway, it's Monaco and PSG, and it's not a bad Friday night game to have in the Liga. PSG have gone back to the norm in that league. They're looking unbeatable since their squad was depleted at one stage. They lost 2 on the bounce, I believe, when they were COVID ravaged. But they're back now, doing their thing. Monaco are okay at home. Monaco are at home. They tend to score, but PSG tend to outscore most. They don't fail to score. They've only failed to score in 1 out of the last 21 or something away from home. But saying that, Monaco's home record isn't bad. So I think PSG and goals is the way to go here. You could go with both teams to score. I think PSG in over 2.5. There's only 5-6 or something. It's okay. You can throw it in a queue. But looking at the history of results in this fixture and being PSG in a game, I've gone for PSG in over 3.5 at nearly 2-1 at 15-8. I think it's a bit of value, and there's safer options obviously with over 2.5. You can just go both teams to score depending on how you're building out your thing. But there's definitely quite a. I think there's going to be goals. Basically, what I'm saying.
I was looking at Monaco, and they've actually scored in 19 of their last 20 home games. So, like you're saying, they do score at home, but the expectation is for PSG to outscore them.
Yeah, I can to me the most likely result is like 3-1, 4-2. Like
what did you say it was? PSG and both teams to score.
I didn't actually. I believe I'd say that's pretty close to the price of over 2.5 as well. I said be just over evens. Monaco is that said, and we said they've a very good home record. Well, decent home record and scoring record at home. So I don't know the price on that, but I know that over 2.5 in PSG is only
5 to 6, I think it was it?
Sorry, 5 to 6, yeah, nearly evens, and then 15 to 8 for another goal. I think that's where the value is. PSG and over 3.5. Yeah, and then there's a decent game. Well, I said decent. It's an alright game in the Spanish second division. Two teams that got relegated last season: Espanyol at home to Girona. Espanyol, look rock solid to go back up. They've only conceded 2 in the last 9 in all competitions. Only 1 in 6 at home. Sorry, that's at home. 2 in 9 at home, and 1 in 6 so far this season. Yeah, Girona are patchy at best. Better at home than they are away. I think there's two sides. Espanyol don't score too many, but they don't concede any nearly. So I was looking at you can back both 1-0 and or 2-0. I think are the most likely results. At 4-1 and 5-1. I think if you wanted to just if you wanted to look for value, but Espanyol -1 is 6-4, and just Espanyol to win is 1-2, which, going by everything at hand, I think is actually pretty decent value for just a straight up win in a game in a game that don't look like losing in any way. I don't honestly. I think they'll win 2-0. So whatever way you want to, if you wanted to cover that, Espanyol and a clean and not to concede, but yeah, I reckon
I'd probably play that safe myself and do Espanyol and over 1.5. You'd probably be getting close to evens with that, and at least it just kind of covers the 1-0 or the 2, not the 1-0, but everything else.
I think the 1-0 is very likely though, and that's why I said my two if you wanted to, you could cover both the 1-0 and the 2-0. I think and you'd make a healthy profit. But I think the save is at 1-2. I think they're a very good bet just to throw in an accumulator there, and they're just conceded 2 and 9 at home.
It's nothing. Win to nil is it's another one. It's such a hard one to follow, because even at 5-0 up, you're still stressed.
Yeah.
Did you say it's 11 to 10 for the win to nil? That's what I'm seeing on Betfair anyway.
Oh, we can rather than covering multiple results, you could. There's pretty much even money for win to nil. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you said, 4-1 and 5-1, you're getting, minimum 2-1.
Yeah,
if you both of them, you're getting 2-1 minimum. So maybe that is better, because all you're avoiding is 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, which probably isn't all that likely.
Or 2-1.
No, they're not overly prolific.
No, I'm comparing it to the win to nil, LB.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, makes sense.
You're just back thrashing 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. So if we're getting 2-1 instead of 11 to 10, you might actually be better going your way.
Yeah.
There's a few angles you could play that, and the one angle we haven't mentioned is Espanyol not winning. So let's see that happen. But no, I think their home record and given the results so far and what Girona do away from home, I think actually it all points to another 1 or 2-0 win to Espanyol. But we'll see more Friday night. But that's the angle I'm going to take. I'll probably take myself. I'll probably cover both them results myself in just singles, and maybe add the Espanyol win to a Friday night accumulator for myself.
Yeah, we'll pull that together as a Friday night accumulator as well, and share it probably tomorrow, and just let people see what we're backing as a group. And we'll have that on then live for the show on Friday. I think on Saturday, or not specifically Saturday, but over the course of the weekend, there's quite a big schedule on. So everyone's excited to be back to regular football and not the international weekend of fun that we've had to sit through this time. So, Gary, maybe over to you. You've picked out 2 of the Premier League games as your kind of your starting choices.
Yeah, probably not the sexiest of games. There's a lot of good games on the weekend. The likes of Tottenham against Man City, Liverpool, Leicester, Leeds, Arsenal. I think there'll be probably better spectacles than the games that I've picked out from kind of a betting perspective. But the first one I have is Aston Villa versus Brighton. So Brighton have struggled for victories this season. they've no win in their last 6 games, 3 draws, 3 losses, struggle for goals, kind of very much on kind of a cold streak. Whereas Aston Villa have 3 wins, 3 losses in their last 6 games, but obviously in that they've beaten Arsenal away from home, Liverpool at home. So I think if Villa are on a going day, Grealish played really well for England when he's got his chance. Ross Barkley looks to be back in form. I think Villa are a great bet. They're like when I looked at the markets or looked at the matches and then looked at the markets, I was expecting Villa to be priced up somewhere around 4 to 6 or something like that. But they're actually available at 23 to 20. With I can't see why. Like Brighton,
I mean,
will play
those odds would imply that the bookies think their wins over, Liverpool, or their results against Liverpool, Arsenal, and the rest were nearly flukes. Like, do you know what I mean? That seems like a ridiculous price. Yeah.
Like they have had a few odd results. Like I mean, they lost 3-0 to Leeds at home, which would have kind of been a shock result. But Leeds play pretty expansive, and then they lost 4-3 to Southampton. So like they have conceded quite a lot of goals at home, and that could be coming into the reckoning. But I don't see Brighton going there and putting in Leeds have a lot of attacking talent. Southampton have a lot of attacking talent. Brighton have struggled to score in their games. I think that's really been their downfall. So I think that 23 to 20 just looks like a great bet. Even though I think Brighton will, it could actually be a decent footballing game to watch. There'll be a lot of both teams like to keep the ball on the deck. But I can't see anything but a Villa victory. So with that value, I think it's worthwhile. And then the other game I picked out was it's on Sunday, 2:00. Sheffield United against West Ham. So very, very reluctantly going for West Ham in this game. Like in the past, it's a game that West Ham would definitely lose. They seem to be good against the big teams, and then the teams around them are of the same quality as them. They seem to throw away games. But obviously the last 7 games, I think that Sheffield United played the League and Cup. They haven't won. 5 of their last 6 in all competitions have been losses. Whereas West Ham have been playing some pretty decent teams and picking up results. They beat the likes of Wolves and run some good teams close as well. So I think West Ham will win. Sheffield United, on top of their bad form, I think there's 5 or 6 first-team players out injured as well. So 7-5 against West Ham. Again, it's a little bit risky, but I think there's enough value in the 7-5 that over kind of or outweighs that risk. So
you're saying West Ham are 7-5, yeah?
West Ham are 7-5, yeah. So it's priced up very much as kind of I think as Slash said earlier on, it's 2-1 Sheffield United, 9-4 to draw, and 7-5 West Ham. So West Ham are favourites, but I said on form and given the fact that West Ham will have, apart from Antonio, they'll have pretty much their first team out, I would say. I haven't seen much injury news and obviously there's games tonight, so a couple of players could get injured, but Declan Rice played for England tonight, scored. He seems to come out of the game fine.
Czech scored for Czech Republic too.
Yeah, Ben Rama played well the weekend. He assisted Mahrez for Algeria. So I just think that Haller on international duty went for Ivory Coast and made his debut and scored on his debut. So I think that the West Ham team are coming into a little bit of confidence from international duty and from the last couple of games. They have relatively few injuries compared to Sheffield United on a terrible run and going to have a number of key injuries. So they're the 2 games I kind of picked out from a betting perspective. There's another one, Everton are away to Fulham, and Everton are 9 to 10. But I've been burned a number of times with Everton on their travels, and especially a 12 o'clock game. I just didn't see the value in the 9 to 10, even though on form you'd expect Everton to win it every day of the week.
The
So
last 2 times I backed Everton, they let me down, so I'm going to
yeah, I think
steer clear of that myself.
you were actually at a game last year. Was 2 years ago? It was Everton Fulham, and we plowed into Everton and they lost, or did they draw? They definitely didn't win anyway. I know that. So
Yeah, no, they didn't. That was actually with Lee, who's vanished on us here, and it was, oh god, we were heavily involved on that one, and it just fell apart on us. Yeah, Everton are just, they don't travel as well as you look at where they are at the table and their early season results, but their form has kind of dropped off a bit. Fulham, are they waking up a bit as well? I'd probably steer clear of that one myself. It's one of those ones. They'll win 3-0 and you go, 9 to 10. That was an easy money bet, but it's actually it's a tough one. I'm going to stay away from it.
Yeah, that's. I don't think there's value in it at all. But there are a couple of
back to us, so I think that'll make a big difference to Everton.
Yeah, but still, they're not a team you can hang your hat on. I don't think anyway. Like when they're good, they're good. But when they're bad, they're awful. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did lack his spark though going forward the last couple of games. But yeah, no, I agree with your sentiment on that one.
But there's a couple of other tempting ones that I haven't really done research into, but just like I have the odds up here, like 3-1 for Tottenham at home to Man City, looks fairly big. Like now,
I thought PK was going to give us a rundown on that match, was he?
Oh, really? Okay. And then the last, I don't know, has anybody picked out Liverpool Leicester?
No.
So Leicester are 13-5 away to Liverpool with Liverpool's defensive worries as well. So there's some really good games and really interesting matches over the weekend. So
I'm actually really looking forward to the football.
Yeah,
it's a good. I wonder, do they do that? Do they line up the schedule for these? I know it's meant to be all random, but do they want to get kind of games that everybody's going to be interested in right back off this, so that as soon as the dross midweek is finished, everyone is just focused in then on the Premier League?
Yeah, there's probably only 3 games this weekend that I wouldn't like. I'd still watch if they're on, but I wouldn't necessarily be mad to watch. And I'll be Fulham, Everton, Burnley, Crystal Palace, and who was United, West Brom. Like the 3 of those games, I don't think I would have much interest in, but the rest of them look like crackers. So
yeah, and
I have a couple of last man standings going this weekend, and I'm struggling to make my picks, to be honest with you. I want to go Everton, but as you said, you don't go hanging your hat on them either. So
yeah,
it'll feel like such a banana skin if it goes wrong. You'd be like, oh, I should have known to stay away from that one.
Yeah, but they'll have trickier fixtures coming up. So if you can use Everton now, it's like before, if it is going bad, they could still turn out a result against Fulham. Like maybe you'd hope.
Yeah.
I've given you 2 winners there anyway, PK. So you just want to.
Yeah.
I mean, but that West Ham match, that's one that you'd consider for a last man standing, because, they're, I think they're not going to be a team that you'd be looking to first every week. You will kind of be a nice one to get them kind of out of the system as well.
I think most people have actually already taken Aston Villa, so I don't think you're the only one of that sentiment this weekend, Gary, either.
Good to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you've picked out a couple of matches as well, PK, for us in the Premier League.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I looked at Spurs City, and it's a very interesting game for both teams, because both of them seem to be like turning the corner from inconsistency. As well as Mourinho seems to be tightening up, finally getting Spurs to maybe where he wants. They've won since that blip against West Ham, that almighty blip. They've won 3 on the trot. They did lose to Antwerp in between, but that was we won't count that. That was Europa League. I don't think it's their primary concern this season. And they did turn over City in February in the league as well, at home. So Mourinho might have the number on this one. So I was looking at it, and with the chance Aguero might be back, but he might not. And I'm getting this feeling, and usually when he comes back of an injury, Pep leaves him on the bench to start at least. And there's a player there that he's grown into that team that scored a hat-trick against Germany during the week there, Ferran Torres. I have a funny feeling he's going to start. Pep seems to be very fond of him now. He's grown into the team, and he might play alongside Jesus as per the last game, and Aguero just sit out this one for the most of it. And given his form, he's 3-1 anytime to score. And Aguero, I was looking at the Bet365 market, is 5-6. So I don't think it's even confirmed that Aguero's back for the weekend. I think there's a chance he's in training, but there's no confirmation. I think that's a kind of an outrageous price. But Ferran Torres is available at 3-1 anytime, which I don't think is a bad bet. But aside from that, the game just screams draw to me. I can just see I can see a 1-1 draw where and as per our conversation earlier on, where you're like, oh, how is the draw such a big price? This game, like for me, both teams, the way they're playing, it just sets up to be a draw, especially with Spurs at home, and it's 3-1 for the draw. So sure, how like City are less than even slightly odds on to win, and I just don't get it. And the value's on the Spurs side of that bet for me, especially when Spurs beat them 2-0 back in February 2 at home, which is kind of it's a good.
That's definitely what we've talked about. That's a money driving those odds. That there's just too many people have backed City and they don't want more money coming onto them, so they put them odds on. They have no reason to be odds on.
Yeah,
Spurs. And you're right. That Europa League match. I mean, Mourinho's. I mean, when it gets to the business end of it, he'll obviously care if it's Champions League qualification. They're not in the top four. The same as with United, it was the same kind of thing. Just get them back into the Champions League. But he's not going to care about that competition. So
yeah, and like Spurs are right in the mix now, even though it's pretty early days, but it's as open in Premier League as we've seen for quite a while to start with. So they're right in the mix. So this is a big game. It's a massive game. It's an early season 6-pointer, but like for both teams, dropping 3 years is a big deal. And for Spurs, if they can get a result, it's massive. I don't see any value on the City side of the bet, being odds on. There's, I suppose you're going to get Spurs at a good price, double chance if you want to go against City. But for value, if you can just fit it into, like I said, a Trixie or something for the weekend, there's 3-1 available on the draw. And I think Ferran Torres anytime if you wanted another one, but maybe just confirm that he's starting first. But he's coming in good form for week 2. So
our treble, depending on who you go with, I'd say on Bet365 it'll be higher just looking at the odds, but on Betfair there, I just typed it in. It's 21-1 on Betfair for the treble. For the draw in Tottenham versus City, for Villa to win and for West Ham to win. So mightn't be a bad treble to get you through the weekend.
Yeah, I mean that's a 21-1 just seems so over the top for that.
Yeah,
such a likely set of results. Like
very achievable. Like
when you talk about it, obviously.
yeah.
Hindsight 2020, but yeah, no, the reason is fine. Like obviously, as we said, people don't back draws, and it's maybe that's the reason they won't touch a 3-1. But I think for all the available markets in that game, it's hard to make a case for backing City, and the draw is probably where the value is.
You say it like that as well. It's Spurs are City are slightly favoured in the sense that they're slightly more than 50-50 chance if they're 20-23 or whatever price they'll be. So a slightly favoured away team just has draw written all over it. Do you know what I mean? It's just bizarre. Like you said, Slats, the 275s, and then you'll have an outside 3-1 for a draw. It makes there's no logic to it. But it's a fella actually.
Quiz: how many games in the Premiership this season, or what percentage of games this season ended in draw?
This season, I'm going to go low. I'm going to say 15%.
Geez, that is low. It's normally in around 30% or 40%, is it? I mean, over a full season, like.
I haven't done but just a quick maths here. It's around 19%, just under 19% this season.
But this season, I think it's very low. This season, I think that is.
I think
but even still,
15 draws in 79 games, I make it. I could be off by a bit there, but
that you got to assume that your top 5 are never really drawn against your bottom 5. So when you get 2 evenly matched teams, and I know the last couple of seasons Spurs haven't been a shadow on City, but to be this season they're very evenly matched. So I think it's overpriced there. I said,
just as a quick Google, it said 27.5% of the Premier League games end in a draw. I think statistically so.
So when I say that's 1 in 3, and you're getting 3-1 for, like I said, you can exclude your Liverpool's at home to West Brom and types of matches.
Yeah, exactly. There's certain games where there's definitely higher probability, or
Speaking of draws, my bet of the weekend, we'll bounce over to Italy, and is another top of the table 6-pointer. Napoli host AC Milan, and I mean that game probably has draw written all over it. Very few draws between them. I think they're winning most of their matches, both of them this season. So, I mean, there's no statistical likelihood there for a draw, but I think that it's another one of those ones, 2 evenly matched teams. What is a strange one is that Napoli have, I think they've won 5 out of 7 games, maybe, they started the season terribly, and they've come into a serious bit of form. They've won 4 of their last 5, and they're 2-1 at home to Milan. It seems like a huge overpricing. Not sure if we talked about it on here a few times that they weren't great last season, but they're 100% back to their best. So that's going to be my kind of absolute primary bet of the weekend.
What odds did you say there?
2-1 at home.
Yeah, that seems very high, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean Milan.
I know Milan are top, but there's not much between them, is there?
No, I think Milan would have won a game extra. I mean, Milan started the season very well, and Napoli didn't. So again, I wonder, is that another one that's the money's on it? Every time you pick up a paper, they're talking about Zlatan in it. He's back to his best. I think I saw an article that he's after discovering what's that drink called where you never age. He's getting better and better as the years go by. But I just think that we talked about it before. Slats the year that Milan actually went off a cliff, and the odds never came back.
Yeah, they don't reflect it.
Yeah.
What went on with Napoli losing at home against Sassuolo?
The thing about Sassuolo is that actually we've looked at them before. They're the most we've talked about. Them and Atalanta are the most unpredictable teams. They're so hard to back or back against. So I mean, Napoli do have.
Yeah, because I can see Napoli.
Right?
Before that game, Napoli have 8 wins and a draw in their previous 9 matches before that. So
yeah,
it definitely was against the run of play at home. That is, but Milan haven't lost away in like 14 games. So
yeah, and another one in Italy that really catches the eye, but for a different reason, is Sampdoria Bologna, and that's a goals one. I mean,
I'm about to say Sampdoria always strike me as a goals team.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it there. Like, they both played 7 matches, and Samp have scored 11, conceded 11, and Bologna have scored 11 and conceded 13. So that's like 48 goals in their 14 matches between them this season. Nearly. It's just, it's an absolute goal fest. Both teams to score is actually pretty generous at 4-6. Both teams to score in that one. But the one that I think my bet there would be Samp to win, and both teams to score at 10-3. Every Serie A game this season feels like it's ended about 4-2 or 3-1. They've been goals left, right, and centre. But I think Samp in particular, like you said, we've seen their results, and they're just goals galore. So I think if you're doing an ACA, PK mentioned a couple of 1-2s and even monies that seem pretty safe to build an ACA up. I think both teams to score in that one at 4-6 is as good as nailed on. Neither team can defend, and they're scoring plenty anyway. So I think that's pretty safe. But the 10-3 is going to be my juicier one then as well.
Sounds decent.
Sounds good.
I'm actually just looking at some stats there from Italy, and a guy like Tonelli from Sampdoria has 5 bookings so far this season. So I don't know what price he'd be for a card, but
it's all the goals he's scoring. He's pulling the jersey off every match, celebrating his hat trick.
He should be serving a suspension, right?
So maybe, yeah. But there's 2 of them: Rincon for Torino and Tonelli for Sampdoria. Both of them have managed to get 5 bookings so far this season in 8 games, which isn't bad going.
The Serie A has been mad this season.
It's quite a strike rate for sure.
Yeah. And then probably from the high drama of the Serie A, I think the Atletico Barcelona match could be a bit more low octane this time around. PK, what do you reckon? Suarez is out.
Yeah, Suarez is out, which would add obviously a different element to the game, a bit more bite. Excuse the pun, but but in saying that, Atletico have very striking similarities to Espanyol, like in the league below them. They're not top, but they're only top because they've played 2 games less than Sociedad. They've only conceded 2 so far in 7 games, and they're unbeaten in 18 home straight games, or home games. There you go. So like just but it is the whole thing that Barca are coming to town. And will
This
they get
is not
up?
the same Barca though, is it? Surely.
It isn't.
Yeah,
But
like she's on form. Like they're 19-10. Atletico like sticks out as a big price for on form.
What are they?
is,
Double
and
chance or something like that?
it's a whole Barca factor,
But this is definitely what we talked about a second ago with the AC Milan thing. I can remember me and Slats regularly going into the Ladbrokes in Ringsend. Like they hadn't won a match for about 2 months in the Serie A when that whole thing unraveled about 6 years ago, and they were still 4-7, 2-5 every week.
It was around the same time where Ferguson moved on from United, and they were
the same
losing
season.
games all over.
Yeah,
and
they couldn't.
Their odds, they were still priced as they had been the last 10 years before it.
you'll rarely get like Barca at any sort of decent price. Like they're always gonna be installed as favourites.
But that's the point. Then that the other side,
Yeah.
you're getting your value on Atletico.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, Atletico should be.
This season. Sorry, go ahead, Abby.
I was going to say Atletico have no reason to be 2-1 outsiders at home. Is what I was going to say.
No,
so you're going to give us the evidence here.
Not in all given form, no.
Yeah, like if you did the names and just wrote down the stats for someone, like there's no way you would be backing Barca as favourites in the game. Atletico at home this season have only conceded 1 goal. It's ridiculous, like
crazy.
Yeah, 2 in their last 7 is what I've seen, and then but the thing is, in this fixture, Atletico Barca in the last 11 head-to-heads, Atletico have only won once, and that was in the Super Cup back in January of this year. So on a head-to-head record,
I know, but these head-to-heads, I don't know how much value they have. Like they don't, when you look at the players that Barcelona have lost, the turnover of managers, Messi's definitely not what he was, or at least not firing on all cylinders. I don't think you can say that, the wonder team of 4 years ago is anything to go by. Teams, I do know that there can be mental blocks and stuff, but I think Atletico have always been strong at home. I wouldn't be putting too much weight on that myself this weekend. I think that 19-10 is ludicrously high.
It is. It is. It is. There's no, like, in all given form, there's absolutely no reason or there's no rhyme or reason why Barca are favourites to this one. But I've kind of given the head-to-head record too, though, and how tight Atletico are known to play. I've kind of honed in on the draw on this one myself too.
I was going to say we probably. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we've picked out 3 or 4 draws already this weekend that'll come in.
I mean, like, if I was doing a draw, Trixie, this weekend, I'd be doing Spurs, City, Atletico, Barca, and you like, there's definitely another one out there, like, as well. But I haven't done that much study towards other games yet. But there's 2 to start. Like, you can throw them into a multiple and decent odds, 5-2 or 3-1, and there's like, there are 2 games. Well, Atletico Barca, I think, is another game that like it screams like high probability draw there, right?
Yeah,
I think anyway.
I mean, if you look at that,
Atletico win into our treble, we can make it a 6 backup.
Oh Jesus! You could play it safe and go double chance. Like it's at them odds, you're probably getting slightly below evens.
But even still, like that 60-1 ACA is 2 good teams in form, which is Spurs and Atletico at home. and then you've got West Ham against Sheffield, who are in the worst form they've been in about 2.5 years, and then Villa, who've beaten some of the best teams in England this season already, at home to Brighton, who just about survived relegation last season. Do you know what I mean? Like I would have put that whole thing at about 30-1 for the four of those. Not that's probably the high end, not 60 odd. It's crazy.
That's my bet for the weekend anyway, sorted. Don't need to do any more research.
61 with a draw in there. I mean, you can play one side of it, and then you can take the safety net and do another little save for Raka, and hopefully you cover yourself, right, and then it's a free bet on the
They're
more.
all about the safety. Remember, Wall Street and here greed is good, no?
I like I like an odd punt every once in a while, but I think there's you can make money by playing. How is our rolling back doing, for instance? Like playing it
from
safe.
170,
you can
is
make
it?
money playing safe too.
171.
I know. I've been banned from the women's football, but those two Northern Irish women's games tonight finished 2-2 and 7-0. So would have been some easy money.
I'll have to put my hands up for that, because
I don't think
if
any
the
of the
Lukaku
viewers
thing
knew that you're banned from attending women's football, but that's okay.
The 170 as well, we were a bit unlucky because the 10 to 10k that we were starting last week on the Friday show, we made a last second adjustment to what that was, and the original one of course won, and the last minute adjustment didn't win, so we're still starting at square one. So with that one, so we'll have to pick one out. I mean, you've mentioned a few sort of even monies around here that I think are pretty good options for us to start up again. So yeah, we can look forward to those over the rest of the week and next weekend. That college football one really stings, the way that one unraveled at the last 7.5 minutes. It felt like 2.5 hours.
Taking the knee thing is such a stinger, like whether
I know.
it's as if you're just out to screw over your bet.
Yeah.
You didn't even see what the guy did for the Browns. Nick Chubb, their running back, like that's the worst. Like he just look it up, stats. He just ran out of play when he could have ran in for the score.
Really?
Just to try and kill the clock. But like they were 3 up, and the handicap that we had for the Super Contest was exactly 3, right? And like there's less than a minute left on the clock. There's no way they're going to score twice, but it's just to take the absolute chance that they don't, like, the minimal chance that they go down and score a touchdown and recover an onside kick inside a minute. And then rather than it's about the only running back in the league, I'd say, that would even consider going out of play there. Like,
well, he said afterwards that he'd been told, I think the coach and somebody else had said to him to do it. He said he kept hearing it in his ear to go out, so he just did it.
His score bonus mustn't be.
So yeah, it just you run down the clock significantly more running out of play than, because you'd be turning over the ball, scoring the touchdown. So it's kind of in their hands.
Well,
they're in control of the clock.
Yeah, and plus you can spike the ball and it wastes like the 30-second or whatever 40-second shot clock or play clock.
I mean, I can fully understand it from a managerial point of view, but from a punting point of view, it's just absolute torture to watch it.
I'd say like every part of him, every part of Nick Chubb.
I couldn't believe it when I saw
fiber. One of the most ludicrous things, like, but like, it's I'm sure they told him he could keep his touchdown bonus, if, in that case, because it's ridiculous, like.
Yeah.
That is the sickener about NFL betting, though. It's just them things, like, you're like, oh, that's good for us, and then you realize it's not good for you, because you need like the attacking team could be up and you need them to cover the spread, but they have no reason to, right? And then if the other team can't make a stop and force them to make a play on the ball, you're like, all right, they have the ball, plenty of time, but they're not going to do anything with it. So yeah, it's an absolute nuisance.
I wonder will that change as like betting becomes bigger, and now that it's kind of rolling out more around America, will pressure come on not to do shit like step out of play or like waste time when you could be like covering spreads and things like that, or will they just keep it as tough luck?
I don't know. I know it's a bit different in the way the Americans bet, but teams 1 or 2-0 up in England and they play for the corner flag and don't go for the throat. You very rarely hear that being brought up in the sense of, oh, I've got over 2.5 back, then you've taken your foot off the gas a bit. So
yeah, plus you have people on both sides of the bet, both sides of the spread. So for every
you've
person
got
pissed off that they
happy
didn't get the
enjoyment
score,
seekers
someone
back
going,
in the over, and
how did I manage to get away with that without a score in the last 7 minutes?
I didn't actually see the game, but there was a college football one. I think it was 2 weekends ago, and what PK was saying about get the onside kick and all, and they just let them. So there was a team about 4 yards out, and the other guys just basically stepped out of the way and let them score, so that they could hopefully retrieve the ball, as opposed to just trying to block them, and they'd never get the ball back, and they were never going to win. So the fella,
I wonder about it sometimes in rugby, and was it when Munster were playing there recently, and they had 3 tries, but there was only about 2 or 3 minutes left on the clock. They had the game won. They were well over. They were more than 3 scores in front, and they were just defending like demons, keeping the other team out, and the clock was just ticking down to 0. And they need one more try for the bonus point. You're going, would you not just stand back, let the opposition in for a try, and now you're kicking the ball down deep into their half, where you can go down and contest it and have a chance of getting the bonus point? It made no odds in conceding, but they just it's just not in their nature to do something like that, to let a team.
But it'll that type of thing. You're getting into remember Mourinho with Madrid, and he told the lads to go out and get second yellows so that they'd miss because the yellows didn't carry after the next round, and
so they'd be back then for the big game.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not done anything against the rules, but people went nuts about it. So I wonder, you're intentionally conceding to just have a shot at getting extra point. I mean, again, I have nothing with it, but wonder what people kick up and maybe they change the rules or something. Who knows?
Yeah, but even the manner in which they were defending, I mean, somebody easily could have missed the tackle, or even, when they're tackling them and hitting them back away from the line, like they could have just let them fall over the line with the ball. I don't think anyone would have known any better.
Just grab him by the shoulders and haul him into the try zone. Yeah. Right, well, look, we're going to wrap this up here now. We'll keep it short and sweet midweek. We will share all the bets that we mentioned on the as individual videos and on Twitter and stuff, so that people can keep a track of them. And then so a couple of the ones, especially in the Netherlands, kick off earlier than we're likely to be on air on Friday. So make sure to get on those. And then we'll be back around 8 p.m. GMT on Friday for the live action. We'll be doing our weekly bet along, and we'll be obviously going through these bets and the weekend selections in much more detail. So make sure to tune back in then. So thanks for tuning in, and take care.
Good night.